Welcome to the Pat White Show. Today is April 23rd, 2025, and it's a big day here in northeastern Indiana because we are celebrating the 50th flight. Now, in case you don't know what that is, about 4 times a year, an airplane leaves Fort Wayne and flies to Washington, D.C. full of veterans. They are escorted all around Washington, D.C. for the entire day to see all the monuments dedicated to them. It's our way, America's way of saying thank you. Well, the Northeast Indiana Honor Flight came about back in 2009. A lady whose name escapes me, and I apologize for that, she says, hey, we got to honor our veterans. Other cities were doing it. The closest one at that time, I think, was Louisville. So she said, Northeast, we need to have something Northeast. And she started calling folks up and got the word around, and they realized that we had a facility that could handle that. It's the 122nd TAC Fighter Wing over there at Fort Wayne International. They have the facilities, they have the ramp, they have everything. And they can handle the entire thing. Well, the first person they worked with to head the organization was a retired officer from the 122nd. His name was Bob Meyer, Colonel Bob Meyer, gentleman who I've known with and flown with because he was my co-pilot in a number of missions. Well, Bobby was retired, and he said, okay, I'll take it over, and he was running it. And he and his wife ran it the first few years and turned it in from like 2 flights. Now, they average 4 flights a year, and they're always filled up. The one today is the 50th. 2 years ago, they had a flight with only Purple Heart veterans, big ones. But keep in mind something, all of these flights are done, doesn't cost anybody anything, doesn't cost the veterans nothing. It's all done for and paid for by donations. So if you've got a nice company up there and you want to donate something to a good cause, this is a really good cause. I mean a very good cause. On this 50th flight, they took 84 veterans, 2 from the Korean War, 14 from the Cold War, 67 Vietnam War, and 1 from the Lebanon Grenada situation. 84 veterans. They had Bronze Star folks in there. They had Purple Heart folks in there. They're all going to D.C. See the monuments to them. Full day. One of the biggest things they get to go see is the laying of a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknowns. They get to go to places like the Vietnam War, the wall. That to me is, that personally for me is the biggest because I have friends on that wall. People I knew in high school, people I flew with in the Air Force. Well, I'm glad folks get to see that. They deserve that because these monuments are to them. And frankly, I got to thank the folks like Bob Meyer and the people who are now running it because they're doing a bang-up job. 4 flights a year. And thus far, they've flown 3,817 veterans have been flown to D.C. It didn't cost the veterans nothing. It was all donated by people like you. So, you want to do something good? See about donating. Now, you know someone who's a veteran who should be going to Washington, D.C. and seeing this stuff? Here's the website they can apply on. It's hfnei.org. HF means honor flight. NEI, Northeastern Indiana.org. hfnei.org. There's also the national organization. It's called honorflight.org. These are national organizations, so it runs nationwide. Fort Wayne's got a pretty good chapter, folks, a very good chapter. And we're able to do a whole lot. And I want to thank the men and women of the 122nd Tactical Fighter Wing for all the hours and time they put in doing this 4 times a year, and they do it. And they have all the people who come out there and volunteer. Now tonight, when the veterans return home about 8 o'clock at Fort Wayne International, maybe you want to be there. Greet them, say hi, wave a flag. It's a big thing. They're being honored. Because if you were a veteran back in the early 1970s at the end of the Vietnam War, you were not liked. Trust me, you were not liked a lot. And this is a way of saying paying back to some of those people who maybe have memories of that time when they were not exactly liked or respected in the United States. It's different today. You wear a hat that shows you're a veteran, people come up to you and go, thank you for your service. Back in 1970, they didn't do that. Trust me. So, 50th flight, that's a big honor. Congratulations to all the folks out there at the 122nd. Congratulations to the honor flight. And congratulations to all the folks who spent the time and effort putting in a lot of time to do this and make it something special. Keep it going, folks. It's really that important. And you deserve as much gratitude as anybody could possibly give you. Honor flight, respecting those who served. I suppose elections are something you don't really want to talk about, but believe it or not, the midterms are coming up. Yeah, it's not until next year, but already members of Congress are starting to punt. That is to say, they're resigning. They're saying, I'm not going to run for re-election. Who are they? Well, one of the big ones is from Illinois, Senator Dick Durbin. Now, Dick Durbin says, I've been around 40 years in the Senate, and he's going to be 70 years of age. He's saying, I have decided not to run. Now, my guess is he's got a big stash of moolah sacked away somewhere, and he's going to be very powerful as a civilian and be able to get a lot of things done his way for a lot of money. That's just my guess. But he is stepping down at the midterms. And who else has decided to step down? Well, interestingly enough, Jean Shaheen from New Hampshire, she's 78, she's stepping down. Tina Smith, who I really don't know, from Wisconsin, Senator, 67, has decided not to run again. And Gary Peters from Michigan, for 66, not all that old, frankly, but he's stepping down. And in the Republican side, well, Mitch McConnell. And let's be honest, I think Mitch McConnell is probably suffering from the same cognitive situation that Joe Biden is suffering from. Just my guess, but it's been pretty well documented, and you can see it on some of the issues that have happened. So, are there more coming? Yes, there are. We're probably going to see more people. Now, this is the Senate we're talking about right now, but we're going to see more people in the House. And why is all this happening? Well, because one, Donald Trump's in office. Two, I'm thinking that they're going to start finding out some very, very bad stuff about people in Congress. Will there be any charges brought, any legal charges brought against any of these people in Congress? My answer is I probably don't think so. And the reason why, they're going to say, well, I can say whatever I want to because I have congressional immunity, or as far as money goes, that's going to be a tough one because, well, if you get one to crash, if you will, yeah, we've seen it happen before. Senator gets knocked out, one in New Jersey, by the way. But will it happen to other senators and other congressmen? I'm not so sure, because they're all trying to protect each other because they all know they're dirty. That's Washington for you. And the fact that Elon Musk is being kind of driven out of his Doge position because it was only good for like 130 days. So, midterms coming up. But there's another little interesting thing going on. A young man by the name of David Hogue. He is a young guy, and he is the new vice chairman of the DNC. And he recently said, hey, I'm going to bankroll a bunch of young Democrats to come in and kick out the old Democrats, putting the fear of God into the old Democrats, saying Hogue's going to support them, he's going to bankroll them, and so they can run and beat the Democrats. He wants young, new left-wing leadership in the House and the Senate. That's what he wants. Now, all that being said, let's talk about this AOC. Guess what, folks? Her ratings are going up dramatically. I'm not kidding you. Her favorable rating is 47%, her unfavorable is 33%. That's up 10 points since 2021. She's going up. There are people who are saying, and believe me, I hate to hear this, but there are people who are saying that she should be the Democrat to run for president in 2028. You think that's weird? Could happen. Could you imagine a former bartender running for president of the United States? AOC? Can you see that? Yeah, President AOC? Really? Oh, and Bernie Sanders? He's going to continue to run. Why give up the honeypot, right? Just things that are going on in Congress, but I can tell you right now, the midterms are coming up. There's going to be a dramatic shift probably in the Congress. Will it help one party or another? Well, that's to be seen. We don't really know right now. But some big boys on the Democrat side are starting to step down. And that tells you something really big could be about to happen. Only time will tell. The world knows a bunch of celebrity women decided to go to Amazon Land, that's the playground of Jeff Bezos, and ride one of his rides. One of his rides is called the Blue Origin. And it's kind of a rocket ride. You go up into space. The whole ride lasts 11 minutes. And you go straight up. You get a little bit of weightlessness for a couple of minutes. Then you come back down. And that's pretty much the ride. Well, unfortunately, the ladies tried to make it a little bit bigger than it probably was. But there was a place called Pop Crave, which is some social media site. I have no idea what it is. But they wrote about how great it was that Katy Perry had gone into space, how wonderful it was. Well, the folks over at Wendy's Hamburgers, they have a social media team, and they responded, "Can we send her back?" And I went, well, that's kind of amusing. Well, some folks got very upset about that and were very angry at Wendy's, saying, here's a major brand and you're besmirching a woman and you need to apologize. Okay, so the Wendy's people said, you want an apology? We're going to give you an apology. Their apology read, and I quote, "We always bring a little spice to our socials, but Wendy's has a ton of respect for Katy Perry and her out-of-this-world talent." That was their apology to Katy Perry for taking 11-minute Bezos Blue Origin ride from Amazon Land. Now, here's the part that really kind of astounded me. So there you have Gayle King, who calls herself an astronaut or whatever, and she said, the purpose of Blue Origin, and this is new, and if you hadn't heard this, take a listen to this. She says the purpose of Blue Origin, and quote, to figure out a way to harness the waste here and put it into space to make Earth a better place. Wait a minute. Is she saying the purpose of the Blue Origin is to be a trash truck? Put all the trash in the Blue Origin, take it out and dump it into space? Haven't we done enough of that in the Pacific Ocean, for crying out loud? So that, according to Gayle King, that's the purpose of Blue Origin. If that's the purpose of Blue Origin, somebody better rethink something, because that doesn't sound like such a smart idea. Now, Katy Perry's a big girl, and if you're gonna play the games, you're gonna get the prizes, as they say. So she's gonna have to live with what she did. But frankly, for me, it looked to me more like a big-time world-class publicity stunt, folks. That's all I can say. But for Gayle King to say, oh yeah, purpose of Blue Origin was to take trash out of space and dump it out there and come back and make Earth a better place. Lady, you think that Blue Origin is be a trash truck, a garbage truck? I don't know what the heck you were drinking. I don't need any of that, by the way. Yes, not everybody's been in high in space as you have. I mean, me personally, I've been at 51,000 feet. But that was part of my job. I was flying Mach 1.1 at the time, but that's so you don't make a sonic boom down below on Earth. But the whole point is that it was a ride, and it was an 11-minute ride. A lot of people like to take it, but it's extremely expensive. Now, if you've got a lot of money and you want to waste it on an 11-minute ride at Amazon Land, have at it. I'm just saying, Amazon, all right, you're doing what you're doing. Katy Perry, you ain't an astronaut, sweetheart. And Wendy's, I think I'm going to go over there and get me a double just to thank them for what they had to say. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Sometimes you have to wonder what exactly is going on down in Indianapolis at the State House. And what I mean is, why do some bills pass that probably shouldn't? Let me give a perfect example of one that is now on the governor's desk to see if he's going to sign it. It's called the House Enrolled Act of 1008. House Enrolled Act 1008. And it's on the governor's desk. The Republicans passed it, and what they're trying to do is create a referendum and a committee, if you will, to see about adding counties from the state of Illinois into Indiana. That's right. They want to bring counties from the state of Illinois who don't want to be in Illinois anymore into the state of Indiana. Whether that's a good idea. Well, I don't care what kind of idea it is. It's doggone near impossible to do. And frankly, the people that have to pass it in order this to happen to be the state of Illinois and the Congress. Both of them have to say, yeah, that's okay. Take the counties of Illinois and send them to Indiana. Well, 33 counties in Illinois are saying we want out. Some want to secede, start their own state. Some want to go to Missouri. Apparently some want to come to Indiana. But the truth of the matter is, Illinois is controlled by the Democrats. Virtually all of them live in the Chicagoland area, and the people down south are saying we're tired of it. Well, unfortunately, it ain't going to happen because the state of Illinois would have to vote to say, yes, we want to do it, and then the Congress of the United States would have to agree. You get the House and Senate to vote on anything? What, are you kidding me? I don't think it's going to happen, folks. And besides that, Supreme Court back in 1907 in a case called Hunter versus Pittsburgh, Judge William Moody said, and I quote, counties are a political subdivision of the state, created by it, and at all times wholly under the legislative control. So what that's saying is, hey, the state controls the counties. If they don't want the counties to leave, the counties ain't going to do it. And here's the biggest thing. Illinois' got $150 billion in debt. You take counties in Illinois and give them to Indiana, they're going to carry a whole bunch of that debt with them when they come over. Do we need more debt in the state of Indiana? I don't think so. We've got 92 counties in the state of Indiana. Maybe we ought to keep them that way. We don't need any more. Hey, I feel bad for the folks in Illinois. Sorry. You're going to have to figure out a way to vote the Democrats out. Not that you ever could, but that's what you're going to have to do. Because right now, we here in the Hoosier State do not need any more folks from Illinois in our state. We're happy the way it is. The 13 million people who live in Illinois, live in your state, have a good time. But don't bring your problems to our state. We got enough of our own. Just saying. Here's a name you probably haven't heard in a while because it goes clear back to December of last year. Does the name Luigi Mangione ring a bell to you? Well, it should. Luigi Mangione was the gentleman charged with the assassination, and I use that term very specifically. It was an assassination when he decided to kill the CEO of United Healthcare. His name was Brian Thompson. Mr. Thompson was in New York City for some sort of convention, investors meeting, whatever it was. Walking out of his hotel toward the place where he was going to do the meeting, Mr. Mangione, who had been in the city for a couple of days, waiting and lurking, had his gun set, ready to go. Photos prove it, folks. There he was. In New York, you can't do anything in a photo. It's not going to see what you're doing. So there's the picture. There's Luigi Mangione. He's been identified by his at various places he was, a hotel he was staying at, what have you, flirting with the counter girl. Well, after the shooting took place, he disappeared. He went like smoke. Well, 5 days later, someone in a McDonald's restaurant in Altoona, Pennsylvania, said, hey, I think that's the guy that I saw on TV. Sure enough, it was Luigi Mangione. He was arrested, brought back to New York City. This all happened in December of last year, so it's a ways away. Well, as you probably can guess, in the state of New York, Mr. Mangione has been charged with murder one. Shooting Mr. Thompson in the back, that's considered pretty much murder one. Well, except, you see, it just turned out a few days ago. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, said, hey, we're going to bring federal charges against this man, and she convened a federal grand jury in the city of New York. Oh, this is a procedure you got to do. Federal grand jury comes out with a major murder one indictment. When they do that, the prosecuting attorney, the local attorney, the head U.S. attorney in New York files a murder one charge death penalty case against Luigi Mangione. Now you're going, wait a minute, can they do that? Yes, they can. You can have a state charge, and you can have a federal charge. Now, the trials will probably run concurrently, but the fight's going to be New York does not have a death penalty. And obviously the federal government does. President Trump says, hey, these people doing this killing stuff, this got to stop. You do that kind of stuff, you're going to be charged and you're going to face the death penalty. Well, apparently, that's exactly what they're planning on doing. Now, I realize you haven't heard much about it in, 4 or 5 months? You haven't, because it takes a long time for justice to move. But now in New York, federal grand jury has now officially indicted Luigi Mangione, 26, wealthy kid from Maryland. His family very wealthy, real estate. He's an Ivy League graduate. And yet, where did he learn this? You know, they found empty shell casings at the site. Shell casings had letters etched on them that says, deny, deny, depose, rather. Deny, deny, depose. Apparently that's what healthcare companies use to not accept somebody's claim. So, against the healthcare companies, he wrote in his journal. He said in his journal, I'm going to whack somebody from the healthcare industry. Doesn't even know this guy. Not insured by him. Just it was convenient. There he was. He would follow the guy, kill him. So that's where it stands, folks. Feds say murder 1, death penalty. New York says, prison for life. Who's going to win in this one? Get ready, folks. Keep watching your newspaper, watch your TV, because it's about to get very, very interesting on the trial of one Luigi Mangione. Let me ask you a question. Are you one of those people that happens to have a government loan for your education unpaid that you haven't paid on in a while? Maybe a long while. Well, let me fill you in on what's going on. You may not like what you're about to hear, but this is what's coming. The Department of Education has decided that if you are in default on your loan payment, they are turning over your account to a collection service. You heard me right. They're going to put you into a collection service, and those people in that particular service do not give up. They will hound you, and they will get their money. You may not have to like it what I'm telling you, but that's what's coming. Now, you've been given kind of passes and relief and a whole bunch of stuff for a number of years because of COVID, and one administration goes out, another administration comes in. And there was even the situation was Joe Biden was trying to forgive the loans of thousands of people and hang the debt on the other American taxpayer. Well, the court said, no, you can't do that. He still tried. They kept saying, no, you can't do that. So a whole bunch of folks are, well, you're on the hook. And if you've got a loan that you aren't paying on, guess what's going to happen? They're going to take your tax-free funds, any of those going on, and they are going to come after your wages. They are going to garnish your wages. Now, you can get into a program if you want. Program basically says, okay, you prove to us, show us how much money you make, and you're going to show us how much are your expenses, your everyday living expenses. And they're going to say, okay, well, we're going to allow this, we're going to allow that, we're not going to allow this, we're not going to allow that. And they're going to say, okay, based on what you've told us, here's how much you have to pay us every month. That's a loan repayment program. Now, you can kind of pay on that for nearly a year and then be subject to have some other distribution done to your loan. And it's kind of mumbo-jumbo stuff, but I'm just telling you right now, if you have a student loan and you ain't paying on it, the Department of Education says, guess what? We are going to put you into collection. And if you've ever been in collection, you understand that ain't a lot of fun, because they're going to seek you out and they're going to hound you down and get the money. Now, like I said, you got a tax return coming, don't bet on it. And you want your wages garnished? Yes, they can do that. They can send an official letter to your employer and say, hey, we're taking this much out of so-and-so's check every month. They can do it. Trust me, they do it. So, if you owe money, you might want to start thinking about what you're going to do. Because now the government said, we're done with this, and we're done with all the postponement of payments and the COVID relief and all the other stuff that's been going on. And for the 5.3 million people out there in America who are in default on their loans, the government's coming after you. And they're going to use collection agencies who get a portion of the money they collect, by getting you to pay. And that's how they make their living, folks. Collection agencies get money by what they collect, not who they call, not who they harass. It's what money they collect, and they are going to want their money. So I'm warning you, for what it's worth, if you owe money on a student loan and you haven't got a plan put together and a plan approved, you're going to start receiving phone calls. And maybe people knocking on your door. Yeah, could happen. Just telling you what could happen. But now, 5.3 million people, your loans are in default. You could be very soon hearing from a collection agency. Just saying. I don't know how many of you remember this, but as a child in the 1950s, I remember watching a black and white TV. And there was a TV show back then starring none other than Bishop Fulton J. Sheen. And it was one of the most popular shows in the United States at that time. And he was on stage and in his cape and everything else and discussing theology and the rules of the Catholic Church and what have you. And people found it interesting. They actually watched. Now, could Bishop Sheen have been elected into Pope? Nobody knows. Never happened. But because Pope Francis has passed away, that they need to re-elect or elect a new Pope. Now, can you be a Pope? Well, the truth of the matter is, any Catholic male, that's right, any Catholic male can be a Pope. Now, they've elected cardinals since like 1387 was the first time or the last time they elected somebody who was a regular mortal like the rest of us. But they have a group now of 7 individuals they consider to be what they call the papabile. Those are the ones who are the most popular and think they're going to be the Pope. At least have the best shot. But when they get together, if you saw the movie The Conclave, I never saw the movie because, frankly, it probably wasn't legitimate. But you saw the movie The Conclave, you might see how they do things. To become Pope, you must get 2/3 of the cardinals who are there. Now, the voting cardinals have to be under the age of 80. But you got to get 2/3 of them. And to be honest with you, if you go in there thinking you're going to be a cardinal, you're thinking you're going to be a Pope, you're going to come out a cardinal. Not everybody wants to be the Pope. It's a tough job, and it's a very cloistered job, and not everybody wants to do that. So sometimes it ain't the worst or ain't the best person picked. It's the person who doesn't want the job, but they're going to give it to him anyway. So who are the ones that they're looking at right now for the top ones? Going to start off with Cardinal Peter Erdo. He's the Archbishop of Budapest, Primate of Hungary. So, Hungarian, running for Pope. He's number 1. Number 2 is Cardinal Reinhard Marx. Cardinal Marx is the Archbishop of Munich, Germany. And he was a key advisor to the Pope back in 2013. So, has he got some oomph going on there? Yes, he does. He's a possibility. And then, of course, Cardinal Marc Ouellet. Cardinal Ouellet is a Canadian. That's right. He's the Archbishop. He's the Cardinal of Canada, if you will. And he's considered one of the most influential bishops over the last decade. A Canadian Pope. Never seen one of those before, but it's certainly a possibility. And then Pietro Parolin. Pietro Parolin, well, it turns out he is the Secretary of State for the Vatican at the United Nations. He's the Secretary of State of the country of the Vatican. And he's well-spoken, been highly respected for what he has to say, and he appears in front of the United Nations. So there he is. Next one is Cardinal Robert Prevost. Cardinal Prevost is a Chicago-born priest. He's 69, an American Pope. Folks, that has never happened. Could it happen? Well, anything could happen when the conclave gets together because you just never know what's going to happen. But there he is, Cardinal Prevost, an American Pope, an American Cardinal, who could be, Pope. Next one from Guinea. That's right, his name is Cardinal Robert Sarah. Cardinal Sarah is long considered one of the best hopes for the African people because he happens to be black. So a black Pope, well, you never know in the world today. That is a possibility. And then Cardinal Christoph Schoenborn. He is the Archbishop of Vienna, Austria. Cardinal Schoenborn's 80 years of age, so he's getting up there a little bit. But there he is. There's another one of the papabile possibilities to become Pope. And here's another one. This one is an interesting one also because it's his name is Cardinal Luis Tagle. He is from the Philippines. That's right, a Filipino cardinal could become Pope. Now, there's 7 people they're thinking about. But personally, I have my own choice. I have my own, who I'm putting in the mix as a front runner. My choice for Pope is Cardinal Timothy Dolan. You've probably seen him on TV. He's on all the news channels. He's bright, he's intelligent, he's got a great sense of humor. And at all the presidential dinners, especially the big ones they hold like in Washington, D.C. and New York, and all the candidates come, everybody's there, huge dinners. There he is, sitting between the 2 candidates. Cardinal Timothy Dolan, let's see on TV. He makes sense. He's from St. Louis area, and he's born in the 50s, so he's not really all that old. But he is a classic priest, a classic bishop, a classic cardinal. But does he have the oomph, what it takes to be a papabile, namely a potential pope? We won't know. The cardinals will be getting together at the Vatican, and they're going to be doing their thing, what they do, but we will not know who the next pope is going to be until the white smoke rises from the chimney at the Vatican. Something to wait for, America, because it will be coming, and it will be coming soon. You know, here in the state of Indiana, most things you hear about talking about sports is football and basketball. Whether it's the IU basketball, IU football, Purdue football, or basketball, heck, that's what people talk about. Well, one thing they've forgotten about is we have a big football club here. That's right, Fort Wayne, Indiana has the Fort Wayne FC. They've been around for a number of years, but starting in 2026, they are joining a big league. I mean the U.S. League number 1. And that's something to be said, but here's something even bigger. They are building a new stadium. And not just like any stadium you've ever seen. This will be the largest outdoor stadium in the entire northeastern Indiana area. 8,400 seats. And that's a pretty cool facility. And they're actually turning dirt right now. Located on Bass Road, I-69, so as you drive down 69, you'll probably be able to see it when it goes up. It's currently being built. They plan to open it up next year, 2026, to start their season. And that's pretty cool. The team is owned by a majority owner. His name is Mark Music. He's the CEO of Ruoff. And along with National Soccer Hall of Famer DeMarcus Beasley, they are setting up a pro soccer team right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yeah, I know there's talk, like I said, football and basketball, but there is a huge audience of people out there that like football. I mean, real football. Most folks call it soccer, but it's truly football. So what's going to be happening is they're going to have a great team here. These are teams from across the United States. Now, the entire league, the USL League number 1, is actually based out of Tampa, Florida. But they have teams around the United States. And this is going to have an opportunity for young folks to strengthen the local economy with this stadium, to create new opportunities for young people to play another sport, soccer, because it's becoming a big sport, whether folks realize it or not. Around the world, it's a lot bigger than football or basketball, trust me. And people love it. Anywhere you go around the world, you're going to see that's what people play. And it's uniting the folks in this area by building this stadium. So, folks, it's being built as we speak. And take a look at this. This is a seriously beautiful stadium, not like anything you've ever seen. And it's going to be built right here in northeastern Indiana and Fort Wayne. So we've got something that, well, a lot of other places in the state do not have. Matter of fact, the entire multiple area around us don't have a full professional soccer team. Fort Wayne Football Club, headed up by, like I said, Mark Music from Ruoff, and their head guy of operations, Scott Sproat. You may know him He used to be with the Fort Wayne Comets for the longest period of time. Good people starting a good product and a good organization. The Fort Wayne Football Club, opening up their doors starting next year, 2026. You can check out their website, get more information if you want, even order your season tickets. Something for you to do. If you like soccer, something big is coming, folks, and something big is the Fort Wayne Football Club and their brand new 8,400-seat open-air stadium, opening next year, right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana.